Have you ever just really wanted to blow stuff up? If so, that would make you a terrorist, but it also means you'll probably love the finals. First of all, if nothing else, the finals is super unique. From differences in classes to terrain destruction, it's a breath of fresh air that FPS games have needed for a long time. So, what happened? There's a very high chance you heard of and even played the finals during its open beta. It felt like everyone was talking about the game and it was doing super well. Unfortunately, there were a lot of completely broken abilities, like wall hacks. Embark, you know people normally install cheats for that, right? So the open beta was huge for the game, but unfortunately it also drove off a lot of players because the game was still a little rough around the edges. The finals has come a long way since then, but first I'm gonna explain what's going on. It'll be fast, trust me. The classes are divided into 3 categories in order of health and hitbox size. These classes are Heavy, Medium, and Domestic Terrorist. Heavies are fantastic at terrain destruction with a ton of health, which doesn't really come into play when you jump off the map. Lights are really fast, but you'll get one-shot by a light breeze. And mediums are a healthy in-between. There's a lot more variation than that for each class, but that's all you really need to know for the time being. The game is played in a tournament setting with you and 3 other teams all fighting for these boxes. But why are the boxes important? That is a fantastic question. I always knew there was a reason you're my favorite viewer. After you get one of these boxes, you throw it into a cash out station, which will start a countdown. Other teams can steal the cash out at any time, and whoever has it claimed when the time runs out gets the money. The 2 teams who have the most money at the end of the match move on to the next bracket. Alright, now that you understand the basics of the game, let's move on to... Okay, there are so many guns and abilities in this game, and the creativity the devs have put on display is genuinely impressive. But unfortunately, a lot of what you can use is too weak to be viable, and that's a problem, especially if you don't know what's good. Cause chances are you'll try the throwing knives and not have fun. Surprisingly, the majority of what is meta feels pretty balanced, with a few exceptions. And as far as the class balancement goes, I'd say they're all in a pretty good place, except for Light. Okay, so, Light plays a huge part in the balancing problems for the finals. It feels like half the community thinks Lights are way too overpowered, and the other half thinks they're easily the weakest class in the game, so what's going on? Alright, it's explanation time again. Light has the smallest hitbox, and is much faster than a medium or heavy, but you also have the least health out of all the classes. Balancing Light is super difficult, because the difference between competitive players and people who have lives outside of video games. Light's biggest advantages are its small hitbox and the ability to catch people by surprise. So depending on what skill bracket you look at, Light is either very good or very bad. Good players are caught by surprise less often and have the aim to deal with Light's small hitbox much easier. But on the other hand, disgusting casual players who get on to have fun might be more easily caught by surprise, or might not always have aim consistent enough to deal with Lights. And this is where balancement issues come in. The people saying Light is too OP are just as valid as the people saying it's not strong enough, because it's 2 completely different situations. With that said, Light is obviously viable at a high level. It just takes more effort to get roughly the same results as a medium or heavy. This would be less of an issue if Embark decided if they wanted to balance for casual players or for competitive players. The problem is that isn't an easy choice to make. The game was probably originally meant to be played casually, but I think it has huge potential as a competitive game, and there isn't really a simple solution here. If you want to hear someone with a functioning brain talk about this, Ronan made a fantastic video about balancement in the finals, and it's linked in the description. I literally spent an hour trying to figure out a segue for this next bit, but I couldn't, so I'm just going to interrupt myself with the title card. The finals has unique classes and the gunplay's fun, but what really makes this game unique is the terrain destruction. Every single surface of every single building can be destroyed, and it's such a great mechanic for a game to have. And no other game has implemented destruction as well as the finals, except maybe Sea of Thieves. The devs are doing a fantastic job destroying that game. Even though heavies have the most options when it comes to destroying the environment, they gave every class at least a few ways to blow stuff up. The terrain destruction adds so much to the game. It feels like something's always either exploding or burning, and I heard that's actually because they were inspired by American infrastructure. It's so surprising how few games have destructible environments, especially to this extent. But there is a pretty good reason for it, and that's how difficult it becomes to make good maps. If every piece of the map can change, it's so hard to make it feel consistent, and a lot of these maps have heavy RNG. Depending on which map you get, you'll be dealing with things such as getting griefed by the cash out spawn because the devs decided wide out in the open was a great tactical position. Sometimes teams will spawn much closer or much further away to an objective than they should, which can have a huge impact on the game. The finals frequently puts you or your opponent at a disadvantage completely at random. And if I wanted to gamble like that, I just go put it all on red, but instead everyone keeps saying, you have a problem, please let us help you. Not every map is like that though, and there are also events that change the map, like floating structures, which adds floating structures. I probably didn't need to explain that one. And the events are just another feature that adds to the insane replayability this game has. Speaking of insane, the finals has the most free rewards I've ever seen. So my last video was on Valorant, and Riot barely even understands the concept of free stuff. So imagine my surprise when I went from that to the finals. Actually, I wasn't that surprised, I've played the game before, but the point is the free rewards are crazy. Currently, there's an entire new mode with an event that gives you a full set of cosmetics and multiple gun skins for free. The World Tour is always around and rewards a ton of paid currency. And in Ranked, you get more gun skins as you climb. The Finals easily has the best rewards of any game I've ever played, and it feels like they value my time, unlike other games I could mention. So despite having a few issues, the Finals is easily one of the most refreshing FPS games I've played recently, and I highly recommend trying it, especially if you're getting burnt out with your main games. Oh, by the way, my plan for world domination is nearing completion, and everyone subscribed to me will be above the law, so do with that information what you will. Okay, thanks, bye.